Just did. We are live.
All right, thank you, Cubs. Appreciate it. So, everyone, welcome to ZSR 3 for a any percent TP rando Twilight Princess, or not rando, Twilight Princess any percent run. We have Jacquaid and Pheenoh set up. They should be starting pretty soon. We have, so right now it's just me and, is it Brugels? How do you pronounce your name, Brugels?
I usually say Bruggles, but both work.
Alright, Brugels here with me to do a lot of the commentating. I'm hoping that they can help carry us through this any percent. I think they're still setting. And of course, I would like to apologize for the late start. Okay, and it looks like the race has begun. According to race 3.
All right, and we're off. So the run starts out with a pretty interesting skip. Normally you would have to go get a Pheenoh and go through Ordon. But we're not really going to be doing that. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to pick up this rock, and we're going to use it to clip through a gate over here. And then we're going to do a trick called Back in Time. So by voiding out and resetting the game on the same frame, Link will actually respawn on the title screen. And the title screen has certain properties, and we can actually save those properties to a file, and then start out with some items and start out with some specific states. Gate clip is a little annoying. It's a little bit of RNG, so fortunately both runners got it pretty quickly. So
that is so cool. Oh man. Alright, so a little bit of context for me here. I actually haven't ran this category or really watched much of this category, so I am new as far as comms go, but it is so cool to see stuff like this. Just boom, they have the Link get up and everything.
Yeah, so now they have the Ordon sword and the Hylian shield and the hero's tunic. And they're actually taking a bit of a, they're doing slightly different routes here. Jacquaid is getting something called boss flags early. He's getting boss flags much earlier than Pheenoh is going to. I guess I could explain it now. While they are going through this first area of the game. So later, in the Forest Temple, if you've ever played this game before, then you know that you normally have to collect a bunch of monkeys to get through the dungeon and get the boomerang.
Yeah.
But what Jacquaid did and what Pheenoh's going to do later in a different method is get boss flags. And what boss flags is going to do is, so the boss flags are tied to the amount of monkeys that you have. And by doing that weird thing that Jacquaid did where he got a game over and then respawned in the King Bolin fight for some weird reason, that's actually going to give him a certain number of boss flags. And once that value gets above, I believe, 4, then it will give you all the monkeys. And we will be able to just run forward and get the boomerang. Much earlier than intended. But that's not going to be for a while. Not until about half an hour in. So we will get to that later. But for now, right now these runners are just going through the start of the game, collecting the lantern and going to save Tallow. Nothing too special. I guess I could talk about version differences. So you may notice that they are playing on English. When normally in speedruns, a lot of the time you'll see Japanese. And English is actually the second fastest language for Twilight Princess, only 5 seconds slower than the fastest version, which is German. So German is actually slower on most text boxes, if I recall correctly. But there are a couple that it just saves so much time on that it makes up for all the time loss. So, and ends up being 5 seconds faster. And it's particularly faster in routes that get bombs because of a glitch that's only in the German version with bombs and involving a text box. So normally when you get special items like the lantern or say the claw shot, for most text boxes in this game you can just skip right through them, and you'll see that on Pheenoh's screen in just a second. But for special things like the lantern or the claw shot or just items really, the text will scroll and you have to wait for it to scroll. But in the German version, for these couple specific text boxes, you can actually skip through them for absolutely no reason, and it's pretty interesting. So now we're coming up on goats, and goats are very annoying. There's some RNG to it, not too bad. There's a little bit of RNG for how sensitive the goats are. Sometimes when you get really close, they just won't budge, but when you're super far away, they will. It just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. You can sort of do the same thing every time, and you'll get similar results every time. Little unfortunate there from Pheenoh, but very good goats overall. Usually want to shoot for around 20 seconds. 21 seconds is certainly acceptable.
I just thought it was funny that one goat was like, nah, I'm gonna go the opposite way.
Yeah, they do that a lot, and it's just really, really annoying.
Oh, Jacquaid's doing pretty good. Jacquaid. Yeah, I mean, it's not 20 seconds,
goats. But 22 is usually good. And then right after that, the runners are going to head off to Bow. So normally you can't... what they're going to do is they're going to get the iron boots from Bow. And normally that doesn't happen until much later. Normally you have to beat the Forest Temple, clear Elden Twilight, all that stuff, then get the iron boots. And normally Bow is waiting outside his house and it triggers a cutscene. But because of Back in Time that we did earlier, it actually... Something that Back in Time does is it gives us Epona tamed. It sets the flag for Epona being tamed. And that's actually the flag for Bow to wrestle us for the iron boots. But because of the state that Ordon is in, he doesn't spawn outside the house, and you actually have to just go in and talk to him over and over again because the text boxes don't keep triggering. You just have to trigger them yourself. And Bow is basically just rock, paper, scissors with mashing. It's pretty annoying.
Could say it's Rochambeau.
Yes. And yeah, it's just completely RNG, which is really annoying. There's a lot of RNG at the very start of Twilight Princess, which is really not great. It can really desync runners really quickly, especially in a race.
Oh, this doesn't look good.
Yeah, so it's just really unfortunate. Usually you want to shoot for sub 730 iron boots, but even when you get to a super high level, that might not even be good enough. So it can just be, really, really unfortunate sometimes.
So when you're using the times, we're at like 7. We're at 8 minutes right now. So
yes,
is he actually like that far off from? Is he over 30 seconds off for iron boots? 40 seconds off?
Off of a good run, I would say yes. But for a race, usually anything under 8 minutes is good. So, unfortunately, Jacquaid getting somewhat unlucky there. But for Pheenoh, not so much.
And I'm not downplaying any of these guys' actions. I'm
Yeah, of course.
mostly going off of what the standard time is. So for a good race, you want sub 7:30 or sub 8 for Iron Boots.
Yeah.
What's the next big item that we get?
The next big item that we get, I think is the Master Sword. But I'll get into that when we get there. For now, so yeah, bow completely RNG, really annoying. But luckily we have gotten past him. And the next thing that we're gonna go do is we are gonna get turned into Wolflink. And right here, there's a little trick called box break. Saves like 3 frames if they get it. You can actually break the box there before the cutscene starts. Unfortunately, Pheenoh missed it. Not a big deal though. It's just a meme time save. But now they're going to be going through the sewers, and the sewers are somewhat interesting. There isn't really too many skips or tricks or anything. It's mostly about movement optimization and little time saves here and there. There are a few first framers that we can get, which is just, 1 frame that would save a little bit of time if you press A on that 1 frame.
Box percent is not a meme.
No, yes, it is. It's a meme.
He didn't get it either, though.
Yeah. So yeah, they're just going through the sewers right now. And you also may notice that on Link's back, you can see the sword and shield. And that's because the flag for the sword and shield not appearing on Link's back don't get set until we enter Fair and Twilight. And so they just stay there, and then it just kind of clips through them.
How long is the sewers, typically?
Not too long. Usually they'll be leaving, specifically, I guess this whole Twilight section usually is done around 12 minutes and 30 seconds.
That's not bad.
They'll probably be done closer to 13 minutes just because of the RNG time losses.
So how much of this game do you think is RNG?
Honestly, a lot. Like, there's a ton of RNG everywhere, and it's just really, really annoying to deal with. There are only a couple segments that really don't have anything, and even then they still have small things here and there.
That's frustrating.
Yeah. But right here, Pheenoh missed it before, but there's a midden tech skip. So normally when you jump down to break the stones there, Jacquaid, I guess, didn't bother to go for it. Midna will say, like, ugh, what are you doing, right? But it's actually possible to skip that if you jump off to the side. And it's possible to get around the trigger. And some
Not
other
too much
first
of a
frames.
time.
Yeah, it's only a couple seconds. Some other time saves here and there. Pheenoh also missed it before. I didn't mention it, but right as you leave and get outside, there's little cutscene, and you can actually jump out of the midden text trigger after the cutscene if you press A on the correct frame. Unfortunately, they both missed it. And right now, Pheenoh is going to Zelda, and then we're going to leave the Twilight. And coming up is probably one of the most infamous tricks in Twilight Princess speedrunning. And that trick is called Sword and Shield Skip. So because of Back in Time that we do at the start, it puts Ordon in a specific state. And that state is actually so advanced that even if we wanted to, we can't go get the Sword and Shield. So normally, if you try to go into Fair and Twilight, Midna will tell you, "Hey, what do you think you're doing? Go get a sword and shield." because the ones that we have don't actually count in our inventory. So even if we wanted to, we can't. So what we're going to do is we're going to lure this Bulblin, which we have named Hugo in the Twilight Princess community. And we're going to bring Hugo over to the trigger. And right behind the trigger, that where Midna tells you to go back and get a sword and shield, there's the trigger where Midna will take you into the Twilight. And we are going to use Hugo to jump attack over the trigger and hit the one where Midna will take us into the Twilight. And the reason we need to use Hugo is because he is going to allow us to do a glitch called a long jump attack. And this trick is very, very useful throughout the whole run. Oh, that's very unfortunate that Pheenoh missed that. That's going to be about a minute time loss, maybe more, minute and a half, which is very unfortunate. But it's honestly understandable because this trick is just extremely precise. It's position precise, it's timing precise, it's angle precise, all this stuff, and it just makes the trick so difficult, which is why it's so infamous. And there's RNG for Hugo swinging. And yes, there, Jacquaid got it. Very, very nice. First try. And yeah,
TP
so
any
we can...
percent seems not extremely difficult, but I've seen the other percent categories, and TP any percent does seem pretty rough.
Yes, definitely very, very rough, especially in the entire first half with tons of difficult tricks and RNG everywhere. So yeah, this trick is just very, very precise and difficult, and has RNG to it.
Do you run this category?
Yes, I do run this category.
So two questions really. What's your PB, of course, and then what is world record for TP any percent?
My personal best is 3 hours, 2 minutes, and 23 seconds. And world record is 2 hours, 54 minutes, and 11 seconds.
Okay, so sub 3 is possible, and you're pretty close to that.
Yeah. And I know that the estimate says 3 hours, 30 minutes, but I don't expect these runners to get anywhere close to that.
Sub 3 is where TP gets nasty. Is that just like time saves exclusively? Or is there like tricks involved to get those time saves more consistent?
No, honestly, there isn't really anything in particular. There are some very, very difficult tricks that you can do to save time, but those don't really come into play until you get very, very close to record.
That is Monka S for sure then.
Yeah, getting sub 3 is definitely very difficult. And we're also going to see another route difference here. So I believe Pheenoh is, so you may have noticed Jacquaid got the Vessel of Light, and Pheenoh is actually going to be skipping that. So there are multiple routes for this game. There are a lot. Most of them are pretty close, in terms of time. I believe the one Jacquaid is doing loses about 30 seconds. But it's definitely easier and more consistent. Well, it's kind of hard to explain. I guess theoretically, the one that Pheenoh is doing is more consistent, but in practice, the one Jacquaid is doing is more consistent.
So why exactly is there so many route changes for this category?
Well, there are just a lot of different routes just because of, I mean, like, we've done experimenting and timing, everything that we can think of, and there are just different routes that different people might prefer, and they're all pretty equal, which is really nice because people can really decide what tricks that they want to do and what they don't want to do, because, as I said before, the run is very rough and has a lot of difficult tricks and RNG everywhere, so you can sort of pick your poison, I guess.
So no one particularly follows... So there's an individual who has world record, obviously, and no one follows that individual's paths? Like, it's not... No.
People do follow that. The one that he does is the fastest route. the other routes, I guess, don't have the opportunity for those extra time saves that I was talking about, that really only come into play when you get really close to record. Some of these other routes don't have access to certain ones of those time saves, but not taking those into account, it's they're all pretty even. And unfortunately, Pheenoh died there, which is really, really bad, because it's actually going to spawn him all the way back at the start of Farron.
Oh no.
I guess he got, I wasn't really looking, but I guess he did not get very good luck. Right here coming up is the early Master Sword jump. So normally to get the Master Sword, you don't get it until much later after Midna's Desperate Hour, and you go to the Sacred Grove and whatnot. But what they are going to do is they're going to use this Shadow Beast and do what's called a super jump using Midna's charge. Unfortunately, Jacquaid missed it there. But it is possible to, when the Shadow Beast does a specific attack, you can actually sort of target the Shadow Beast's hand and use it to jump up onto the ledge out of bounds, and then we can navigate out of bounds and actually get to the Sacred Grove early.
So I'm trying not to interrupt too much because you got a lot that you gotta say. But is there a way that Pheenoh can catch up in this category? Did he lose that?
I would say Pheenoh can catch up because just in general, speed of just like general movement and stuff, right? It's not the whole run isn't about just getting the tricks. Obviously, that's important, but even if you play like really bad, you can still get some pretty decent times, even if you fail like certain tricks. Just because it's like how do the top runners like do things so fast, and it's really just comes down to they just do things faster, so just overall speed, Pheenoh can definitely catch up.
Okay.
And there Pheenoh got it. Very, very nice. And you also may have noticed, after Jacquaid howled at the stone to start the Skull Kid fight, he actually did not skip the cutscene, and that's because he did boss flags earlier in the run. Skipping that cutscene would actually get rid of them, but because Pheenoh hasn't done boss flags yet, he is actually going to be skipping the cutscenes here.
Yeah, the boss flags portion of the run seems a little confusing to me, but...
Yeah, it's very complicated. I mean, I don't even really know how it works. I just know how we do it.
Right.
But pretty much everything else I could tell you how it works.
Is that one of the more difficult things to learn in TP any percent, or?
No. Boss flags is actually really easy to pull off. It's just not easy to explain how it works.
Oh, okay.
Definitely Sword and Shield skip or early Master Sword are much, much, much more difficult.
How close are we to the Master Sword at this point?
Very close. They will be coming up in a couple minutes.
I have not played this game in quite some time. I've had my focus in other Zelda adventures.
Yeah.
But I do think I remember getting the Master Sword here soon.
And fortunately for us, the Skull Kid, the locations of the Skull Kid are not random. He's always in the same places, so we don't have to like run around searching. We just know where to go each time to hit him.
That's nice. At least that's not RNG.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, Pheno's making pretty good time to close that gap.
Well, there are quite a few route differences that we will also be seeing later, so it's really, honestly, I believe Jacquaid is still a good bit ahead. for now. Because Jacquaid also was collecting the tears to clear the Twilight, whereas Pheenoh is not going to be clearing the Twilight.
Oh, okay. So there's diversions in the route that are so far in the future that are affected this early on in the game. That's impressive.
Yes. There are quite a few differences that take their toll, and honestly make it kind of hard to tell where people are. Jacquaid is going to be gets the boom in the route that Jacquaid does. You get the boomerang actually like a few minutes later than you normally would, just because of all the time losses that are done by setting up for the route later. But all of those time losses eventually dissipate when the time save from the different route comes in. So usually in the route that Pheenoh is doing, you'd want to shoot for about I would say a 21 Master Sword. So unfortunately Pheenoh has lost quite a bit of time, but like I said before, this is definitely not the end of the run yet. We still have a long way to go.
Yeah, we're looking at a 25-minute Master Sword, which is good, but not as good as you said.
Yeah, 25 Master Sword really isn't great, but Pheenoh can definitely make up some time later. The Master Sword cutscene is almost exactly 2 minutes from picking up the Master Sword to gaining control of Link again.
And there's no way to skip it?
No, unfortunately, we cannot skip the Master Sword cutscene, which is something that I know is being like fixed in Rando. They want to make it so you can skip the Master Sword cutscene, which would be very nice.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about it too much here, but I am primarily a rando player, and I know that no cutscenes, or at least reduced cutscenes, is pretty nice.
Yeah.
Does
Although Twilight Princess, most of the cutscenes can be skipped.
I was going to say, is there a faster Twilight Princess? Like, basically a version where all the cutscenes are removed?
No, because fortunately for us, there are really only like a couple cutscenes here and there that we can't skip. Most of the cutscenes are skippable.
That's good.
So yeah, which is honestly not the greatest for us because there are not a lot of bathrooms in this 3-hour long
downtime.
run.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not a lot of downtime in this 3-hour long run, so definitely make sure you use the restroom before starting a run of Twilight Princess any percent.
Alright, we're back in Farron Woods.
Yep.
It's been like an overload of information. Like, I'm trying to keep up with all this. It's an amazing thing to watch, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, definitely. Both of these runners are very good. So Jacquaid actually before had gone through and killed all the bugs, but he hadn't actually picked up all of the tears. he'd only picked up some of them, and that's because, well, after you get the Master Sword, you warp back to South Faron, and you have to run through this whole area again. And normally you'd have to wait for the bugs to die, and then wait for the tier to spawn, but we can actually just leave, and then when we come back later, it's faster to pick them up then. And right now, they are using the lantern, actually, to get through this purple fog, and normally you would have to, use Midna to go through the whole area, but since we have the Master Sword actually allows us to do so much. We can transform wherever we want, we can warp whenever we want, and that really opens up the game a lot more. And we are already seeing uses of that in the fact that we are using the lantern to get through that area faster.
I was gonna say, that's not how I remember doing that part.
Yeah. So now they're going to kill the Shadow Beasts and actually move on to the next area. You'll notice that Pheenoh is human and Jacquaid is wolf. Jacquaid is wolf because wolf movement does save some time, but unfortunately for Pheenoh, it won't, because Pheenoh is going to have to do that early boss flags thing that I mentioned earlier in the run.
Okay.
So what Pheenoh is going to do is Pheenoh is going to do back in time again, just like at the start of the run, but actually in a slightly different way. So he's going to have to void out and reset on the same frame, and he's going to do that by actually going past the loading zone behind the Forest Temple entrance there. As you can see, he voided out. He unfortunately didn't get the glitch, but he's going to give it a second try.
So where is the big path diversions that you were talking about earlier?
I'll explain those more later, once we get to them. For now, I guess I'll just focus on explaining what Pheenoh's doing. So right there, he voided out, and I also forgot to mention this earlier, but Pheenoh actually saved right after he got the iron boots. He saved right outside Bo's house, and that save is actually very important, because what he's doing here is a glitch called Back in Time Equipped, which is basically sort of loading into the title screen state. It's kind of hard to explain. I don't really know how to explain it, but regardless, it's called Back in Time Equipped. And trying to do Back in Time Equipped with just any old file doesn't really work. It only works if you are in specific places in specific states. So it's very important that he saved outside of Bo's house after getting the iron boots. You may notice right here, Jacquaid, as soon as he enters the door there, monkeys just kind of appear out of nowhere. And that's because of boss flags. And now we can just go forward and get the boomerang much earlier than we were supposed to. Unfortunately, Pheenoh got a little unlucky there. Normally, you'd be able to shoot the spiders with the slingshot, but because of all that stuff we did early game, we actually don't have the slingshot, so they have to use the Dekubaba nuts to throw at the spiders. So right now, Jacquaid is fighting Ook, and Ook has some RNG. You want him to hop around only 2 times. Jacquaid got a little unlucky there. And normally you would have to do Ook in 2 cycles, but because we have the Master Sword, we can just get it over with in 1. So now they're going to get the boomerang, and the boomerang is probably the most broken item in Twilight Princess. It allows us to do so many skips that I will explain more when we get to them. The boomerang is also the only item that talks to you, and it only talks to you that 1 time, and it's really weird and makes no sense, and I don't know why they did that. But right now, after we get the boomerang, they are both just going to save warp, because we actually don't have anything else to do in the Forest Temple. We are not going to beat it. All we wanted to do is get the boomerang, and now we can leave. So one advantage that Jacquaid is going to have over Pheenoh is because he's clearing the Twilight. Normally, you would get the ending blow outside of the Forest Temple, and Jacquaid is going to be able to do that because he cleared Fair and Twilight. And that is one of the things that makes up for the other time losses from before, that makes this route better. Well, I guess I don't want to say better because the other route is still faster, but makes this route not slow. So right now, what Jacquaid is going to do is escape the forest, and make use of the boomerang that we just got. Most broken item in the game, already making uses of it. So yeah, normally to get out of the forest, normally there's a trigger there where Midna tells you like, hey, what do you, we still have stuff to do here. Because she wants you to clear Fair and Twilight and beat the Forest Temple, but we are not going to do that. And Pheenoh will also be doing the same thing coming up here, just in the Twilight. We can normally have to clear Fair and Twilight and beat the Forest Temple, but they are Pheenoh isn't going to do either. They can just use the boomerang to do a long jump attack. And for a long jump attack to work, the boomerang has to be over a void or over ground that is higher than Link. And then Link can jump attack towards it and he'll get a super long jump. And what Jacquaid did there with the second use of the boomerang already was a trick called Mailman Skip. So normally you would run forward and talk to the mailman, but we can actually use the boomerang to jump over the trigger. And now they are entering Elden Twilight. So, in Jacquaid doesn't really have to worry about much right now, but Pheenoh is probably sweating because coming up here is there is one frame to press the A button, and missing it loses about a minute. So hopefully Pheenoh can get it. And it's one of the things that the route that Jacquaid is doing, one reason that some people might choose it over the one Pheenoh's doing, because you don't have to worry about that one frame A press. So right there, after you kill the Shadow Beasts, there's a trigger where Midna gives you map warping and tells you to warp away. And we do need map warping, but hopefully if Pheenoh gets Gorge Void, he will do some other stuff before getting it. Yes, Pheenoh got it. Very, very nice. So there's one frame there during the cutscene, after showing the portal, that you can actually jump attack into the void, and that's going to allow us to do some other stuff. So right now Pheenoh is going to so normally you would have to warp the bridge here, but because Pheenoh hasn't cleared Fair and Twilight and hasn't beaten the Forest Temple, he actually can't warp the bridge. So he's going to be doing a trick called and unfortunately he missed it there, but he's going to be doing a trick called Rupee Roll, which is going to allow him to get on the other side of the fence there, and actually do a long jump attack over the void and get onto the other side of the gorge. And the reason that he wants to do that is because he wants to get the warp portal in Kakariko, because that's going to save some backtracking time later. Because normally at the end of the segment that he is doing right now, if he did not get Gorge Void, then he would have to warp back to South Farron and actually run all the way back to Eldin, which loses about a minute. And right now, Jacquaid, I forgot to mention it there. He actually did a trick where he could jump through, get past the gate there, and he's now going to be doing a trick called Pillar Clip. So it's possible to get past the gate by just bonking it and then side hopping through it, because there's a tiny little seam in the middle. And unfortunately, Pheenoh missed the trick again. But right now, Jacquaid is going to be doing a trick called Pillar Clip. So normally, I guess you would just go through linear Twilight from here. But what we are going to do is, because we have the Master Sword, we can actually transform into human during Twilight here. And in both routes actually, that these guys are doing, we're actually going to be skipping the Zora armor entirely. So getting into the Lakebed Temple would be kind of an ordeal, and unfortunately Jacquaid missed it there. But and right there, Pheenoh got Rupee Roll and is now on the other side of the fence there. So hopefully he can make his way around and long jump attack across the void. But for Jacquaid, right now he is clipping out of bounds and is actually going to swim to the loading zone of the Lakebed Temple. And the reason that we have to do this now is because right now the water level in Hylia is lowered. And that's very important because without the Zora armor, we only have a certain amount of air. So we have to do this now while the water level is lowered, so we can actually sink all the way down and actually make it to the loading zone. And once Jacquaid gets inside, he's actually just going to save warp, because when you have the Master Sword, save warping in the tunnel of Lakebed Temple actually will put you at the start of will put you like through the tunnel. And right there, Jacquaid clipped out of bounds. Hopefully he can make it to the loading zone. It is very, very tight, but yes, he made it. And now he's just going to save warp because it'll put us through the tunnel if you have the Master Sword. It's kind of really, really nice that all this stuff just kind of works out because, obviously if we didn't have the Master Sword, then we wouldn't be able to do that. And, this whole thing wouldn't really work. But now that Pheenoh has gotten... Now that Pheenoh has gotten the warp portal in Kakariko, he's going to run back and hit the trigger for map warping, and that's just because we need it, and we need to warp away anyways. So now Pheenoh's going to warp to South Farron, and Pheenoh's going to be doing all the stuff that Jacquaid is doing right now. So normally in this room, you would need to use bombs to knock down the stalactites, but we can just use the boomerang and do some long jump attacks. And right here, Jacquaid is going to be doing double LJ, actually. Just one right after the other. I really like double LJs. They're just super cool looking. And honestly, Lakebed Temple is one of the cooler dungeons in a speedrun. Just because all of the uses of the boomerang. But right now, what Jacquaid is doing is Jacquaid is going around to get Uku, and the reason for this is because right now we were able to get in because the water level is lowered, but we actually can't leave the water level lowered like this because we need to clear the Neighbor Twilight. And if we cleared the Neighbor Twilight, if we raise the water level, then we wouldn't really have any way of getting back into the dungeon. So Uku is our way of getting back after we get further into the game, which is going to be very important because Lakebed is required to be beaten. All right, there, another double LJ. And you'll notice here, Jacquaid is actually going to be entering the mini-boss room from the back. And because of the boss flags trick that we did before. We are actually just going to be able to look up, and the fight will start as if we went through the dungeon normally. So Deku is a pretty interesting mini boss. Normally you'd have to do multiple cycles, but with the Master Sword, it is possible to one-cycle Deku. It is very precise though, and unfortunately Jacquaid missed it there. But with the Master Sword, it is possible to do 10 individual slashes, and that will actually take care of Deku in one cycle. But you only have a couple frames in between each slash, because if you accidentally start a combo, then you won't be able to get in 10 slashes. So you do have to be fast, but you can't go too fast. So it is very precise, and unfortunately he missed it, but that is definitely understandable. And right now Pheenoh is going for Pillar Clip, and it looks like he got it. Definitely got the clip out of bounds, and he should be able to make it to the loading zone. It's possible to tell just looking at the air meter. From just experience, it's possible to know how much air that one might need, and looks like Pheenoh was able to get the trick, which is very, very nice. But now that Jacquaid has the claw shot, he's just going to save warp, and now they're going to leave. And the reason that he has to save warp is because you can't use Uku in boss rooms. So he has to save so he can use Uku to get out of the dungeon.
Are we still doing decent as far as the racers being close to one another?
I would say Jacquaid is ahead. I don't really know what the time differences would be in general. I just sort of know when they converge, so I can't really say for a while, but I believe just because of how well Jacquaid has been playing, he is in the lead right now by a fair bit. So right now, Jacquaid, I guess he's not doing the fastest strat, but I'm actually not sure. Maybe? Yes, it looks like he is. So there's a strat that you can do here, where by transforming into human, most enemies, when they touch water, will die instantly. And so what we can do is transform into human and sink down in the water with the iron boots, and actually lure the Kargrok into the water to kill the Bulblin and finish the fight early.
That's pretty impressive. That's awesome.
Yes, and I actually wasn't sure if Jacquaid was going to go for it at first because he didn't transform right away.
Is there an alternate fight or an alternate way to do that fight?
Yes, there are different ways to do the fight fast. And right there, Jacquaid clipped out of bounds, actually, which is pretty easy. It loses quite a bit of time if you fail it, so that's why a lot of people don't go for it. But I know that Jacquaid is very, very good at it and is confident in that trick. And it saves about 8 seconds. And also the method that he did on the fight before saves about 8 seconds over the other method. 8 to 12, I believe. And the reason that I wasn't sure if he was going to go for it at first is because if you fail it, if the Kargrok grabs you, you'll actually crash your game. So they have to be very careful.
Looks like Pheenoh's doing that fight that we had just seen momentarily.
Yes, and unfortunately, he also did not get the 1 cycle, but that's not too bad.
So the 1 cycle is 10 slashes for that?
Yes, you need to get 10 individual slashes. But he unfortunately didn't do it, but it really doesn't lose that much time. It only loses like 15 to 20 seconds. So it's really not that bad. And right now, Jacquaid is going up Zora's domain. And then right after, he's going to warp away. Because normally, you would have to warp Big Rock that falls in Death Mountain. But that doesn't fall until we've cleared Elden Twilight. So Jacquaid is going to have to go do that first. But just the way the route works out, it's faster to go here first and then warp back later. So now that Pheenoh has gotten the claw shot, he's going to save warp and do the same thing that Jacquaid has done and warp out with Uku. Pheenoh saved and restarted the game because that puts him at the start of the dungeon. And you can't use Uku to get out of the dungeon in a mini-boss room, so they have to save warp to get out. So right now, there's some more route divergence. Jacquaid is warping to North Farron. When Pheenoh gets to where Jacquaid just was, we will see him warp to Kakariko. But Jacquaid warped to South Farron because he is going to, right now, go get the ending blow. So, because Jacquaid cleared Farron Twilight, he can actually go get the ending blow from the Golden Wolf outside of Forest Temple. And we actually do need to get the ending blow. It is possible to make it to the end of the game without it, but if you get there... if you get there without it, you can press A all you want, and you won't be able to finish Ganondorf. So we actually do have to get it. And Pheenoh's going to have to do some interesting stuff to get it, because he didn't clear Farron Twilight. And this is where some of the route time save comes in for Jacquaid.
Man, the levels of Jacquaid's time saves are so significant in compared to Pheenoh's, and I feel bad because it seems like Jacquaid's just consistently getting these like time saves and putting him further ahead.
Well, the thing is, it's really just about so the route that Pheenoh does is actually the fastest route, but Jacquaid has because of things like clearing Farron Twilight. And doing the boss flags early, things like that. All the time saves and time losses sort of cancel out.
So is it all about routing in this? Like, does execution really have a play in this? Or is it exclusively routing?
Execution is the most important thing. Routes are all very in overall timing. So there Jacquaid died. For a death warp, because that would put him at the start of Farron, which is just faster than save warping. And then right there he saves because he's now going to do back in time equip, similar to what Pheenoh did in the Forest Temple, but for a different reason here. So here Jacquaid is not actually going to be getting boss flags. What he's doing is he's actually going to fight King Baldwin. And this is going to put him in Kakariko, and this is so he doesn't have to do some stuff that Pheenoh did before with like Rupee Roll and getting over the gorge and gorge voids, stuff like that. So Jacquaid is not going to have to do any of that, but instead is going to fight King Baldwin. And theoretically, the route that Pheenoh does is consistently faster. because King Bulblin, there is quite a bit of RNG to his movement. So if you don't get good RNG, then you're not really going to be saving any time. And the route normally loses about, I guess in a perfect world, you'd lose only about 5-10 seconds. But in reality, you're probably going to lose 30 because of bad RNG. But it looks like Jacquaid actually got a pretty decent fight overall. On the right there, there's if you dash forward 3 times and then turn around, you can actually just stay next to King Bulblin and get the 2 hits in that you need. So right now, Phenoh's warping to Kakariko, and they're gonna look pretty even about now, honestly. Maybe Pheenoh is gonna be looking a little bit ahead, but in reality, Pheenoh has quite a bit to do that Jacquaid has already done.
Yeah, it's almost like a false lead.
Yeah. So Phenoh's going to have to do some other stuff later to get the ending blow, which is going to lose him some time. So this is really, yeah, it's basically a fake lead.
Are either of these 2 runners doing the same routing as the WR or no?
Yes, Pheenoh is doing the same route as the world record.
Okay.
You may have seen right there, Pheenoh killed the bug and then transformed into human and side-hopped into the well. And that's just a little trick that we can do because we have the Master Sword. And the reason that he killed the bug and then went into the well instead of collecting the tier is the same reason that before Jacquaid was killing the bugs and then collecting them later, because it's just faster, and we can do other things while we are waiting for the tier to materialize.
Yeah, it does look like the Master Sword gives us a lot more versatility for the run.
Yeah, and you can see right there, Jacquaid did the same thing.
Yep. It also looks really smooth when they did that too.
Yeah, and right there, what Pheenoh did is you can actually manipulate the bug to coming down to you instead of going up and chasing it. Just saves a little bit of time there. Once again, a little bit more manipulation. We want the bug to come down to us there. Just standing in a specific spot causes the bug to come down.
So this is all about bug hunting right now?
Yes. Unfortunately, there's sort of a long stretch of just Twilight and bug collecting. Which is not the most interesting part of the run, but there are some neat optimizations.
I will say that it's fun to watch how well their execution is, because while they're collecting these bugs, it's a very smooth pattern.
Yes, for sure.
Now, is there specific routing for collecting the bugs in this? So I noticed that they kind of both did the same thing.
Yes, there are specific routes for collecting the bugs. For Farron Twilight and Elden Twilight, they don't, like, it's sort of intuitive. But for Linear Twilight, we have specific things that we do, and I will explain those when we get there. But coming up here, Pheenoh is going to be doing a trick called Bomb House Skip. I don't know if he's going to be doing it as human or wolf. I would imagine human, yes. So being able to transform into human here is very nice because we can transform into human and actually use the boomerang to do some long jump attacks. So normally, if you just run forward there, you would actually trigger the bug to run into the bomb house there. But what we can do is actually go around the side and kill the bug before it's able to go into the house, and that actually just causes the house to just sort of disappear, and you can just get the piers. And it is possible to do that trick as Wolf, but it is much more difficult because the long jump attacks just make it really easy to get around the side. But doing it as Wolf is much more precise. And you also may notice that just, as we're going along, the runners are collecting rupees. And this is because once we get later in the game, we're actually going to need 300 to get into City in the Sky. And City in the Sky is required for us to beat.
So we're looking at 3 more?
Yes, just 3 more bugs. Oh, Jacquaid getting a little bit unlucky there. If you actually collect a rupee while in the air, it actually won't give you the text. But unfortunately, Jacquaid was not able to skip the text there. And it's actually a little bit weird. So we do try to manipulate some of the bugs because for some reason certain bugs don't have a hitbox for a little while until they go to a specific place, or you just wait a little bit. So we sort of have to manipulate the bugs sometimes to move where we want them to.
A lot of hurting in this game, it seems.
Yeah.
Pheenoh's making more progress. What was one of the major things you said Pheenoh still has to do to catch up?
Pheenoh is still going to have to get the ending blow, which is going to lose him some time later, whereas Jacquaid has already gotten the ending blow. So while it might look like Pheenoh's ahead, he's going to have to take those time losses later. So now that we've cleared Elden Twilight, now they are going to be able to warp the rock and start clearing Linear Twilight. So they just have to run around here a bit, and then this cutscene will play with the big rock, and they're going to warp that to Linear. And right here, there's actually one frame that they can side hop out of a mid-text trigger. Saves a couple seconds. Unfortunately, Pheenoh missed it there. The one thing that's cool about it, though, is you may notice that on Pheenoh's map now, you'll see all the water is there because we warped the rock. But if you get the text skip, then the water actually won't show up. Which looks pretty cool. And also you may notice that Pheenoh transformed into human and jumped into the water and sunk down with iron boots, and that's because normally if you just try to leave the place as Wolf regularly, it will play a cutscene with Rutella where she tells you, like, oh, Castletown and save my son, and then she will give you the Zora armor later. But neither of these runners are going to be getting the Zora armor. So, and even if we were, you don't have to watch the cutscene. It's just slow, so we can just transform into human and. And unfortunately, Jacquaid also missed the Midna tech skip.
I'm assuming if you, like, add up all the different Midna tech skips, that it probably saves some time.
Yeah.
I think you've mentioned 3 or 4 different Midna tech skips now, so that would make sense on why it would be
they
big.
only save a couple seconds, really, so you're not
together
really
or each?
Together.
Okay. So it's not that big of a deal if you get stuck having to listen to her.
Yeah, and there's a lot of RNG, so in those segments, so it's not like you're really gonna notice the time save very much if you do get it. So right now, Pheenoh is running off to the side here to get Bug over here. And immediately after, he is going to warp away. And that's just because getting the other bugs right now in Lake Hylia is it's just very slow. And we will come back later when it's more convenient. Right here, Pheenoh is transforming again, because he's going to skip the Rutella cutscene again right here by jumping into the water. And right here, it is possible to actually get a side hop right there.
Oh.
Pheenoh went a little bit early, but it is possible. Land on some ground and get on a ledge that we need to without having to go through all the stuff that you would if you just fell all the way down. Which is unfortunately what Pheenoh is going to have to go through right now.
Because it looked like he was trying to do that side hop, but just was a little bit off.
Yes, he was just a little bit off the ground, off like where he needed to land. Right there, what he just claw shot it up to. And there is a different method, slightly slower, but much safer. So Pheenoh lost a good bit of time there from going for that. But if he didn't go for it, which it looks like what Jacquaid is doing here, you can actually equip the iron boots and then walk off to the side, and he will drop down onto the platform from above. Which, like I said, is much safer and much easier, but loses a couple seconds. I personally choose the safer method in my runs, but to each their own, I guess.
I mean, safe strats still put in work.
Yes. And those lily pad bugs there that just dealt with can also be very annoying. They move around randomly, and looks like they both got pretty good luck. But they can really screw you up sometimes and give you terrible RNG, and it's really, really annoying.
I'm sorry, did Jacquaid get the side hop?
No, Jacquaid did not go for it. Jacquaid went for 3 seconds slower method. That's much safer.
Okay, that's right. Okay. Because they are pretty close right now for the collecting the bugs in this segment. So.
Yes. Because failing the side hop loses a lot of time. So.
But then going back to the overarching topic of this conversation, Pheenoh trying to do that jump would have, helped out minuscule seconds, but the overarching time that he has to catch up.
Yes.
The bugs seem a lot more like congregated in Zora's Domain.
Honestly,
Like
in Lanayru, all the bugs are just super far apart. Like, we have some bugs in Lake Hylia and some in Zora's Domain, and there's this one that's all the way off in Castletown, which is where they are going right now. And it's really, really annoying, and it's really what makes this Twilight so long compared to the other ones. And it's why we have, like, specific routing for this Twilight in particular, because just everything is so far apart. That we really have to make the most of our time.
So you have all the ones grouped up in Zora's Domain, and then as soon as you leave Zora's Domain, you have to run all the way across to Castletown.
Yes.
That's tedious.
The one thing that we do get out of it is to Castletown, which we do use later in the run. But I feel like they maybe could have found some other way to shoehorn it in. I don't know. It's just really out of the way.
Alright, seeing some more combat on Pheenoh's side. Jacquaid just a little bit behind there.
And you'll notice in Castletown, Pheenoh is going to be using dash canceling, which is exactly what the name suggests, dashing and then immediately canceling it. And he's canceling it with a B attack because in Castletown, wolf movement is actually really, really slow. So in like different areas, your movement has like different speeds. And particularly for wolf, it varies a lot. But in Castletown, it's just so slow that it's actually faster to just dash cancel throughout the whole area instead of just dashing. Right there's some very nice RNG manip from Pheenoh. The bug actually has to fall down off the little ledge there before it will before it has a hitbox. So yeah, there's Jacquaid getting a little bit unlucky, but still killing the bug. And now Pheenoh can warp back to Lake Hylia and get this tier behind the cannon there. And now he is going to howl here and go through the flying section. And there are a couple tiers there. And after he gets those, he's actually just going to bonk on the side. Because failing the flying section here will actually put us right next to the final tier in Lake Hylia, which is really convenient because otherwise we'd have to swim all the way there, which loses quite a bit of time. So this is just the fastest way. So right here, as we see Pheenoh spawn back in, the bug is right there, and he can just kill it.
Nice. That was really close actually. Like as soon as he spawned.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why we do that instead of swimming all the way there from the other planet. And now, finally coming up is the boss bug, the last tier that we will have to collect. And the boss bug has some interesting strats. So I'll explain it sort of when it comes up, but we need to jump attack onto him like this, and then we can actually manipulate where he goes with some camera movement. And the reason that we want to do this is because we need to attack the bug in a certain way, and we need to do back hops right there. So you saw that Pheenoh attacked it before it could float up again, and that's going to allow him to hit the bug again really quickly. And the reason that we need to do that is because we need to manipulate the bug moves, because the platform is longer than it is wide, and so we need extra space to get out of the way from the attack, but still be close enough to jump attack it.
This looks very RNG based as well.
Yes, the timing, how fast the bug attacks you, and I guess where it would swim normally, we can manipulate camera movement. But that's really the reason that we have to do that specific camera movement and manipulate it in such a way that we can attack it, because otherwise we would have to sit and wait for it to attack us. RNG.
Was Pheenoh just having issues with the manipulation of the camera movement? Because it just seemed like it wasn't working with him as well as it was for Jacquaid.
He did have a little bit of trouble with it, I noticed. Sometimes the bug can throw you off in weird ways. But he did get it once. So now the runners are warping away. Pheenoh's warping to Zora's domain. I believe Jacquaid will be doing the same, yes. And they are now going to get bombs. And they're going to be doing that in a weird way. Pheenoh is actually going to have to take a bit of a detour first. And this is to do some stuff because he needs to get the ending blow still.
Okay, so this is what you were talking about earlier, or this is what you were hinting about earlier.
Yes. So they're both going to go to Upper River, but Pheenoh is actually going to have to howl at the stone at Upper Zora's River, and it's the most convenient stone to howl at, and it puts the wolf in the convenient place. And the reason that this works is because all of the hidden skills are always given to you in the same order, regardless of which wolf you. Always going to be the ending blow first, then the shield attack next, then the backslice third, so on and so forth. So here, Pheenoh can howl at the stone and make the wolf appear at a certain place. But immediately after, we will see him do something similar to what Jacquaid is doing now. And so they're going to help Izza, and after we help Izza, Izza's going to give us a bomb bag and be like, "Oh, thanks so much for helping me with that. Can you help me some more?" And she gives us a bomb bag to help her. And what we are going to do is we're going to steal it. So because we have Uku, we're actually going to use Uku to leave Izza and go back to Lakebed, and we'll just take the bomb bag with us.
And you said Lakebed is one of the ones we have to complete, right?
Yes. And we aren't going to be completing Lakebed quite yet, but we will.
It's down the line.
Yes.
So when you're using Oku to, move like this, is this sequence breaking? Is this glitching? Like, what exactly are they doing when they do
Uku
that?
normally works this way, but it was, I guess, a bit of an oversight that you could steal the bomb bag with Uku. But Uku does normally work in this way, that you can leave the dungeon and come back whenever you want.
Well, that's convenient.
So Jacquaid is doing something a little bit different, because the way that Jacquaid's like bomb bag route works is a little bit different. I'm not exactly sure how it works. Right now he's emptying the bombs, and Pheno's going to be doing the same thing, just getting from a different chest. But the reason they need to empty all the bombs is because normally when you open a chest that has bombs in it, it will give you whatever type it has a specific type that it's supposed to give you, but if you don't have that type, it will give you whatever type you have. and we need to get water bombs. So what Jacquaid is doing is what they're both doing is they have to empty out all of the regular bombs from the bomb bag and then open the chest with water bombs to make sure that they get water bombs. And they need water bombs because they are going to be getting a permanent bomb bag, and they need water bombs to get that permanent bag. And the reason that we need a permanent bomb bag is because there are other times that we need to use bombs, and with the stolen bomb bag, if you save warp or die, it goes away. And
okay, so Iz's bomb bag isn't a real bomb bag.
Right.
Okay.
So we do need to get a real bomb bag. And the reason is because you can substitute bombs with the ball and chain, which they will be getting shortly after what they're doing now. But there are some things that we can't substitute the ball with the ball and chain. And that specifically has to do with what Jacquaid is about to do. So it is possible to refill your air using bombs. Right there, he did a variation of it called Rocket Link that just shoots you up to the surface of the water. But if you actually do it in a slightly different way, it'll just refill your air. And because we are skipping getting the Zora arm, they are going to need to have bombs. And there are other places later in the game that we need to use this glitch, so we do need to have a permanent bomb bag.
So when they got the permanent bomb bag, it overwrit the water bombs, it looks like. So they don't need the water bombs anymore?
Well, actually, when they got the permanent bomb bag, it just gave them a second bomb bag, because remember, the Lent one doesn't save warp or die.
Okay, so they have water bombs and regular bombs now. Yes.
But right now, Jacquaid and what Pheenoh will be doing in just a second is a glitch called Map Glitch. And Map Glitch is basically what they can do is call Midna and open up the map on the same frame, and then try to warp away using the map. And as soon as the map closes, Midna will actually interrupt the warp. And what this does is it actually disables all of the loading zones, which is very good for us, because normally you'd have to get the Reekfish scent to go through here. But by disabling the loading zones, normally you would void out here if you tried to go in without the Reekfish scent, but because we disabled the loading zone, it just lets us go through.
That is fun to watch. So that is interesting.
It's actually the reason that Japanese is not the fastest language. It's actually the slowest language by far, because in the Japanese version, Map Glitch was actually patched. So that loses quite a bit of time.
Right, because that's requiring you to do it the original way.
Yes. And I'm not exactly sure how Jacquaid's bomb route is going to work. I know it does it. I know in the route that Jacquaid is doing, it's slightly different. But at least for Pheenoh, I know that Pheenoh is going to be emptying the real bomb bag as well as he goes along, because we are going to need to get water bombs in a real bomb bag. Because you can only refill your air underwater if you have water bombs. But right now, you also may notice that they both howled at the stone at the top of Snow Peak there, and that's because doing that will actually reload the area. And if they tried to dig into the next area without doing that first, because they did Map Glitch, the loading zone is disabled, so the game would just soft lock. So they have to howl at the stone first. And right now, once they get to the outdoor area here, normally you would fight some shadow beasts. But what they're going to do is actually use the boomerang to long jump attack into the void. And if you void out far enough forward there, the game just assumes that you must have voided out from up on top of the hill. And that's actually just going to put us up on top of the hill and skip fighting the shadow beasts. Although, the drawback... while this does save time, the drawback is the fog never clears out of the area. So they'll actually have to snowboard down the mountain blind. which does make it quite a bit more difficult, although we do have some visual cues to make it more bearable, so they should be able to get down the mountain first try. Definitely worth the time save.
Is the jumping faster?
The jumping is faster, yes. No, AX, they're not both doing Gorge Nosier. Pheenoh's doing Gorge Nosier. Jacquaid is doing Bite Nosier.
Is there a simple explanation for either of those, or not really?
Not really, just the different routes that they're doing.
Ah.
Just, you know, Bite does all the stuff that Jacquaid's doing. Gorge does all the stuff that Pheenoh's doing.
Oh, so is it like names?
Yeah, those are just names for the routes that have to do with the certain things that they do. But fortunately, both of them have gotten down the mountain. Very, very nice. Like I said before, it is pretty tricky without being able to see, but fortunately they were both able to get it. And then right there, unfortunately Pheenoh missed it, but there's a little tech skip you can get by going around the midna trigger there. But it only saves a couple seconds, and not really worth it unless you can do it really, really fast.
I'm not sure what the visual cues were for the mountain. It just kind of looked like they were going down.
Yeah, it's sort of hard to explain, but right now they're going through Snow Peak in a very weird way. They can go off to the side there and do a long jump attack over the void, and then they can actually claw shot through the ceiling there, because normally you're supposed to blow it up from the top, so it doesn't actually have collision on the bottom. And right now they're going to be doing some more LJAs to get across some more gaps, and they will be opening up a chest there to get a small key. And we do need this small key to open up a different door that they will be coming up to in a little bit. Right now they are going to do a glitch called floor clip, where you can get in a very specific spot and just kind of, as the name suggests, clip through the floor to skip going past some enemies there. Now we're going to open a locked door here backwards. Fun stuff. And then now they are going to do a trick called Freezard Skip. So we want to get into the mini-boss because that will let us get the ball and chain, which is a very important item, and I will talk about that more in a little bit. But right now, what they can do is get invincibility by taking damage, and then actually clip out of bounds between the Freezard and the wall and get into the mini-boss without having to defeat the Freezard. And we actually do have some pretty interesting strats here for the fight. If you run around him in a specific way, he will actually just very quickly throw the ball and chain at you, and then we can actually kill him in one cycle. So now they have the ball and chain, and Jacquaid is going to be leaving right now because he has. But right now, Pheenoh is going to be getting an orange rupee here, and Jacquaid doesn't have to get it because of the route that Jacquaid is doing. He actually has some other slightly faster ways of getting rupees, so he doesn't have to go back there. But right now, Pheenoh is going to save warp because, once again, you cannot use Uku in mini-boss rooms. And he's going to get another orange rupee right here. and then right afterwards he's going to be going back to Lake Bed. So right now Jacquaid is doing a boss key skip. So he's going to clip into the bridge here and do a specific setup and actually be able to clip into the room where the loading zone is and then go right into fight Morpheal. And the reason that works is because normally in most dungeons of Twilight Princess, even if you could get behind the boss door, it doesn't really help because getting into the room is actually tied to the loading zone. The opening the door is tied to the loading zone. So you have to actually open the door to get in. But in specifically Lakebed Temple, opening the door is actually not tied to the loading zone, so we can just get behind it and then enter the boss room. And right now, Jacquaid, the first phase, he has to either do a jump attack or a spin attack on the eye, and unfortunately, he got pretty unlucky there. You want to have enough time to take out a bomb and force and equip the iron boots, because that's what starts the swimming with water bombs glitch, which is what allows us to refill our air. So he's going to have to adapt a little bit. This fight can be very, very stressful because Morpheal swims around randomly. It's RNG. You just sort of have to adapt to it. And you got a little bit unlucky there. But everything should be fine. Looks like he's bringing it back quite well. Unfortunately, not being able to grab the eye. The best case scenario would be killing Morpheal with 2 bombs only. But unfortunately, that will not be the case for Jacquaid. So the reason that we put on iron boots before grabbing onto Morpheal is because if you force and equip them after dealing the 4 hits, it actually just takes you off of Morpheal right away instead of waiting for Morpheal to throw you off, which would obviously not be good for refilling our air and is slower. Looks like Jacquaid is unfortunately not getting the greatest luck here. But they're pretty good, being able to grab the eye very quickly. And now we see Pheenoh entering the fight. And right there, Jacquaid was able to force and equip the iron boots and immediately grab back on. And that's actually very, very good, because Jacquaid got very lucky there, because being able to re-grab Morpheal is actually somewhat RNG. Morpheal has to be swimming in a specific way, otherwise you won't be able to get it. So that was very, very good for Jacquaid there. And it looks like Pheenoh there got the was able to start swimming with water bombs before the cutscene started there, so he will hopefully have a more traditional looking Morpheal fight. So looks like Pheenoh was able to get 1 hit there. And I believe Pheenoh will be able to get a 2-bomb, which is very, very good. So Jacquaid is definitely ahead now because after the Morpheal fight, which fortunately Pheenoh got a very good fight, now we have Midna's Desperate Hour. Midna's Desperate Hour is about 6 minutes long, so I guess it's not really much of an hour. But after Midna's Desperate Hour, Jacquaid already has the ending blow, but Pheenoh will be getting it right after Midna's Desperate Hour. It's going to take up probably about a minute and a half, something like that. So on top of how far behind he is currently, he will also add another good bit onto that. Unfortunately. And Midna's Desperate Hour is one of the few splits that just pretty much doesn't have any RNG on it.
Oh, it's nice to know.
All down to execution, which is very, very nice. Once again, we can see dash canceling through Castletown because the wolf movement is so slow. And you also may notice that they picked up the heart pieces, the heart containers at the end of the dungeon, and that's because in this game, at the in one of the later dungeons, you can just take so much damage everywhere, and it's really, really important to have a good bit of health. And it is possible to skip. You can skip the heart containers, but most people get them unless you're at a very, very top level. And right here on Jacquaid's screen, we are seeing the first Poe in the game. We'll be seeing more of those later in the Arbors Grounds, which is the next dungeon that we're going to. And right here, you'll see on Jacquaid's screen, normally, so he's going to be picking up the one of the sticks here and lighting it on fire, and then burning the web here. And normally you'd have to take the stick over to the next web over here, but it's actually faster because we have the Master Sword already, which normally you don't get until after Desperate Hour. But because we have the Master Sword already, we can just transform into human and actually just use the lantern. And then transform back, and that saves a little bit of time. And right here, this Bulblin right here, we actually have to kill this Bulblin, because if you don't, then as you're trying to go on the ropes here and whatnot, the Bulblin will just shoot you down over and over and over, so you just have to kill it at the bottom there. And we have sort of a setup to kill it quickly by knocking it into the water, because as I mentioned before, unfortunately Jacquaid fell there, but we can knock a boblin into the water, and as I said before, most enemies in this game die instantly when they touch water. And we have some time saves here. It doesn't look like Jacquaid went for it, but it is possible to jump attack those boblins to get off of the ropes a little bit early and save a couple seconds. Oh, Jacquaid unfortunately fell there. It is possible, if you go fast enough, to get onto that bridge before it falls down, and actually make it over to the rooftops over there. Though it is quite tight, but there Jacquaid got it. Normally, what you would do is wait for the cycle to, and then go when you have a lot more time. And you'll see here Pheenoh is jump attacking the boblins to get off the ropes early, as I mentioned before. But now Jacquaid is going to warp to Lake Hylia, because the next thing that we need to do is go to the desert. So we just jump attack that ledge and jump attack up this next one just because it's faster than climbing. And then we have to climb this ladder here all the way up to the top to Aru, who will give us a memo to give to Fire, who will then shoot us up to the desert. So now Pheenoh's gonna have to go over here and appears right here after howling at the stone in Upper Zors River. So we can go right here and get the ending blow right after Minas Esprador. Very convenient. Yes, Divine Godly. I do run the game myself. My personal best is 302.23. So here we just transform into Wolf in the desert because movement is much faster as Wolf. And you may also notice that Jacquaid panned the camera down, and that's because this game, as you can see here, when he pans the camera forward, the game just slows down. Like, it just lags super duper hard because this area is just huge. So we pan the camera down to reduce lag, and it saves a couple seconds just through this whole area, and it's completely free time save, so there's really no reason not to do it. And right after Pheenoh gets the ending blow, it's going to put him actually right outside, right in Farron, in this sort of weird state. But it doesn't really matter where it puts us because he just warps away to Lake Hylia instantly. Because that's where we want to go next. And then right here, because we got the ball and chain early, normally you'd have to get a boar to destroy the fences there, but we can actually just transform into human and use the ball and chain to knock down the pillar and get over here. And then we can do some rolls off to the side there. It also is possible to do as Wolf, but you can just sort of squeeze between the wall and the fence there and not actually have to destroy it. And coming up here in the Bulblin camp, normally you'd have to go through, find the key to get into the center area to fight King Bulblin. But what we are actually going to do instead is map glitch again. And map glitch is going to let us get out of bounds. And map glitch, not only does it get rid of all loading zones like to areas and stuff, but it also gets rid of the void out loading zone, like under the map. So unfortunately, Jacquaid messed up the setup there, but what we are going to do is get out of bounds. So the trigger to start the King Bulblin fight here in Arbors Grounds is it's an air trigger, which means it goes infinitely up and infinitely down. So what we can actually do is get out of bounds and then hit the trigger from below instead of walking into it from the ground. So Jacquaid hit it there, very, very nice. And now we are in the fight. And we can actually finish off King Bulblin very, very quickly with some quick spins. And that was a very good fight from Jacquaid.
Looked very clean.
Yes. So now we can get on the boar and right out of there. So now coming up here is the Arbors Grounds. It's the next dungeon. And it's honestly pretty interesting dungeon overall. We sort of go through, so there are two halves really, and we sort of go through both halves backwards. So right here we can do some B attacks across the sand. I don't know if that was intentional by the developers, but it certainly works very well for getting around in this dungeon. Just transforming into Wolf and doing some B attacks. No, Divine Godly, I don't run any besides Twilight Princess. Not seriously, anyways. So right here, Jacquaid will be walking into the Poe cutscene, where we will see the Poes appear. And coming up in a little bit is a trick called Po1 Skip. So, normally you'd have to kill all 4 Poes, but we're actually just going to run away from the first one. We don't actually need to fight it. And we're going to do some interesting tricks to get around killing it. So, first off, we need to throw a bomb over here to kill the Moldorms in the ground. But then, Jacquaid is going to do a long jump attack over to the side here. And we're actually going to sort of clip up onto the pillar there. Unfortunately, he did not get it first try, but it is possible to get under the pillar in a weird way, and it will sort of pop you up. And then we can roll off of it and get up onto the ledge onto the side there. Yes, just like that. Perfect. Very nice from Jacquaid. And we can get over to the side there and start going through the dungeon in sort of a weird way. Actually, I guess these few rooms are actually in order, surprisingly. So what we're going to be doing is we're actually going to be killing the 4th Poe first. And just completely skip the first Poe. And normally you have to kill the first Poe to get the Poe scent, which allows you to get to some other areas of the dungeon. But you can actually get the Poe scent off any of the 4 Poes. So we're just going to get it off the 4th Poe. And on the 4th Poe here, the way that they spin around, normally it's like random, but we have some methods of manipulating the speed, like when they start to spin around and things like that, to just speed up the fight a little bit. And right here, we have to push this block here, because we're actually going to be coming back through this area in a little while, and we need that block to be out of the way.
I honestly can't tell if they're close or not anymore.
Jacquaid is quite a bit ahead.
Yeah, that's what I was looking like.
So, as I said before, we are going to need 300 rupees by the time we get to, what's it called? City in the Sky. Jacquaid only needs to get about 100 right now because he, after Arbiters. Pheenoh, on the other hand, will have to get 300 right now in Arbiters because he's already gotten all the rupees all the other rupees.
It looks like Pheenoh is struggling with this.
Yes, unfortunately, Pheenoh's struggling a bit with post-skip. But for now, Jacquaid... so, in Arbiters, there are re-deads everywhere. And when you kill a re-dead, they drop 20 rupees. So, all Jacquaid has to do is just kill a bunch of re-deads, and he will be able to get all the rupees that he needs.
Nice.
So now that Jacquaid has gotten those other 2 Poes, he's going back through the dungeon this way to get up to the 2nd floor here. And is actually going to open this door, the locked door, backwards, similar to what we did in Snow Peak earlier. And we are going to get to the next Poe going through these rooms. So now that Jacquaid has gotten those 3 Poes, so the game actually doesn't check to see if you've gotten the first Poe, because it assumes that you couldn't have gotten the other ones unless you got the first one. So even though we only got 3, it will just open up for us. So now, what Jacquaid is going to do is go off to the side here, and we can actually clip around this pillar here, and actually, with those B attacks, we can actually get across the sand and get to the boss key early. And then we need to get the spinner in the dungeon, and we're actually going to do that by going through these rooms backwards, because it's just faster than going through the dungeon normally. And you also may notice that Jacquaid is dropping his bombs. So Pheenoh already has a permanent in it, but Jacquaid's permanent bomb bag only has regular bombs, and so he's going to have to get permanent bombs a little bit later. So right here, there's a pretty interesting strat. We can drop the bombs in a specific way to kill the Stalfos there in just the right way, because you need to kill the Stalfos to get the gate to open there, and we can just kill the Stalfos in such a way that we can get to the gate right as it opens. And then coming up here, Jacquaid is going to fight the mini-boss, Death Sword. Death Sword is a pretty interesting mini-boss. We will have some pretty interesting strats to deal with him quickly. It is possible to... so there's 2 phases of Death Sword. First, we have to transform into Wolf to use our senses. And in the second phase, it is possible to do it in 1 cycle, but it is pretty... it can be difficult, so hopefully these runners can get it on their first try. So it's possible to knock Death Sword out of him spinning around just like that quickly with a quick spin. And then we can do slashes in a similar way to what we did Deku Toad, and actually just keep Death Sword sort of stun locked and keep him down. And just kill him in 1 cycle, like Jacquaid just did. So very, very nice. And now Jacquaid will be getting the spinner. So if you look on Pheenoh's screen, Pheenoh now has 300 rupees, which is very, very nice. So he will not have to worry about that anymore. And right now, Jacquaid is just going through the rooms. We do save warp after getting the spinner just because it's faster to get to the boss door from the start of the dungeon than to go back through the rooms, since we already got the boss key. So we can just go through the rooms like that and start going to the boss room.
Thank you, ZSR, for the raid. What I've basically learned is that I have a lot to learn about this game.
Yes. So, entering the Stallord fight. Stallord is pretty annoying. Most of the fight is RNG. At least the first phase is completely RNG. And the second phase is pretty interesting, but I will get to that. For now, the first phase, what you have to do is hit Stallord's spine 3 times with the spinner. But Stallord puts up all of the Stal children all over the place to try and block you, and it's completely RNG where they spawn. Fortunately, Jacquaid got some pretty good luck there. Just one more hit to go. And we sort of have to maneuver in weird ways a lot of the time just because of where all the Stal children spawn. Jacquaid actually got very good luck there and played that very, very nicely. And that was a very, very solid first phase. So Jacquaid is looking very good so far. So on the second phase, normally you have to ride with the spinner all the way up to the top, and while Stallord shoots fireballs at you, you have to sort of dodge them and get closer until you knock him down. But it's actually possible to knock him down way earlier, just at the bottom, just as you're going up, which saves about 30 seconds. Very, very good time save. And hopefully Jacquaid will be able to get it. It can be a little tricky sometimes, but it's not too difficult, so hopefully he will be able to pull it off. Yes, very nice. Very good from Jacquaid there, and then just do a bunch of quick spins. So it's possible to one cycle Stallord here with just quick spins. Very, very good fight from Jacquaid. Really good RNG, and he played it really, really well. So Jacquaid also got the heart container there, just because, you know, once again, it's important to have a good amount of health for some of the later dungeons.
The only thing that I can understand that puts Pheenoh behind is the difference in routing at the beginning, possibly.
Well, actually, it's not really the routing. It's really just been execution. Unfortunately, Pheenoh has not done very well on some of the earlier tricks, messed them up a couple times. And unfortunately, Twilight Princess is very, very punishing in the early game, so that lost him quite a bit of time. Pheenoh is actually doing the faster route, but unfortunately, those time losses from failing those tricks add up. But right here, normally, what Jacquaid is going to do, normally you'd have to right up to the top with the spinner and raise the Mirror of Twilight. But and if you try to warp away normally, Midna will say like, no, the mirror's so close, we can't leave now. But if you actually open up the map and just zoom in all the way, and then try to warp, then Midna will just let you warp away. And also to get the last 200 rupees that he needs. And because of the routing differences, Pheenoh can't do this, which is why he has to get all the rupees that he's gotten before now. But Jacquaid can get that rupee. I think it would be possible for Pheenoh to catch up if he played really, really well and Jacquaid didn't, but I don't really know. I can't really say for sure at this point.
Nice skip there.
Yes. So right there, what Jacquaid did is honestly probably one of the biggest sequence breaks. It saves probably well over an hour. And basically, normally you'd have to beat Snow Peak, you'd have to beat Temple of Time, you have to do this whole quest to, get the power back into the Dominion Rod. But by doing that, we can actually just sort of transform and clip past the statue there and warp the cannon that lets us into City in the Sky early. Which is very, very nice. And normally you'd have to get all of the mirror shards by beating Snow Peak and Temple of Time as well. But the game actually only checks for the one from City in the Sky. So that is the only one of those dungeons that we will be beating. So, right there is where the 300 rupees come in. You have to pay Fire to have him fix the cannon for you. And now we will be going to City in the Sky, which honestly is probably my favorite dungeon. City in the Sky is just really, really cool. It just has LJs all over the place. The movement is awesome. And there are just some really neat skips. So, yeah, very fun to play, and in my opinion, very fun. So I believe the first thing that Jacquaid has to do that Pheenoh won't be doing is Jacquaid actually has to go off to the side here to get water bombs. Pheenoh might do it. I'm not sure. I don't think so, though, because Pheenoh had a really good Morpheal. Jacquaid has to do it no matter what, but if you have a bad Morpheal in the route that Pheenoh's doing, then you will have to get extra water bombs. So right here, coming up, normally you would grab the Uku off to the side there, but we can actually just do some LJAs instead. Quite a bit faster, and looks way cooler. And then right here, Jacquaid is going to actually transform by this door as far away as possible, and open the door as far away as possible. And that's going to actually... there's a trigger that's like right up against the door, but if you open it as far away as possible, it's actually possible to not hit the trigger. And normally what hitting the trigger would do is it would make a fan at the top of the room that Jacquaid is in right now, and just left. It would make a fan at the top of the room start spinning, and that would be really bad because by stopping that fan from spinning, we can actually later in the dungeon, like a little bit later, we can actually get the boss key much earlier by having that fan not spin. So it's quite a nice time save. If you miss it, then you have to go through a bunch of rooms, and it loses about 2 minutes, if not more.
Yeah, 2 minutes is a significant time loss in any sort of speedrun.
Yeah, so definitely gotta get that skip, and it's honestly not very difficult. Which is nice. But if you really are not feeling confident, you can make a safety save. So right there, Jacquaid gets that small key. We do need the small key. Oh, that was an unfortunate void. But coming up here, there's normally a cutscene. Where Argarok comes and destroys the bridge here. But we're actually going to do a bit of tricky movement to skip that cutscene, which is going to do multiple things. One, obviously the cutscene won't play, which saves time from that. But two, after you pick up the small key there, it actually sets your spawn point right by the chest, because the game, the developers didn't want you to just save warp to get past it. So not only do we skip the cutscene there, but it also keeps our spawn point at that chest, which is very good for us because, coming back to the center room here, we are going to, want to come back there later, to get the boss key. And, it's faster to go from the chest than it is from the start of the dungeon. So skips the cutscene and some faster movement later.
And I think Pheenoh got it.
Yes, he did. And right here, coming up on Jacquaid's screen, just some more LJs right here to skip some stuff. Man, I just love all the LJs that we do everywhere. It looks so cool.
Is that like a hard trick to execute?
No, an LJ is not very difficult to execute.
Whoa.
You pretty much just have to throw the boomerang and then pull out your sword and press A. That's all it is.
Nice.
So yeah, a little bit of a time loss there for Jacquaid, but nothing too bad. And then right here, we can just do a quick spin, or not a quick spin, but just a spin attack to knock those Denalphos into the void.
Wow. That was quick.
Yes. And off of these chandeliers here that we claw shot on, there is one frame right before the cutscene starts that you can drop off, but it only saves. It barely even saves. So it's frame perfect. So most people don't get it even if they go for it. And there, Pheenoh also very nicely got the cutscene skip. And right here, Jacquaid is going to be doing a trick called jump. So normally there's a puzzle in this room, but if we actually jump off of that ledge kind of high, you can actually grab that ledge without having to do in that room, which is very, very nice. In fact, the puzzle is so slow in that room that if you miss, it's faster to just retry it rather than do the puzzle, just because it's that slow. And then here, coming up is the Eralphos fight, and well, while you can fight Eralphos, we are not going to be doing that. So there's a very, very precise skip here that we can do. What we need to do is get in a very specific spot, and then use the claw shot to the target behind the gate that blocks the claw shot, the double claw shots from us. There's only I believe there's only one pixel that you can actually claw shot, so it's very precise and definitely unfortunate, but not unreasonable to not get it first try. And right there, very, very nice from Jacquaid. Second
Nice.
try, definitely not bad. Once again, that trick is very, very precise and very difficult, so I'm not surprised that, I would not be surprised if a runner did not get it first try, but that was very nice.
The double LJs are really cool to see too.
Yeah, definitely.
Pheenoh didn't get the cool, double spin, whatever
Yeah,
it was.
double kill. But that's okay because there's just void everywhere, so you can just knock them in. And as soon as you open the door with the small key, the cutscene trigger actually just disappears, so we don't actually have to do the cutscene skip again. Jacquaid can just kind of run through that area. And now, Jacquaid is going to go get the boss key. So this is the reason that we needed the fan to not be spinning. So normally you'd have to go through a bunch of rooms, but right now Jacquaid can get up onto that pillar and then claw shot up through there. So that's the fan that would normally be spinning, and you wouldn't be able to get through it.
Yeah, so it seems like that cutscene skip is pretty significant.
Yes. And then here we can do another LJ across that little gap there.
Which looks like it skipped all that tight rope walking.
Yes. And right there, that's the boss key. Or I guess the big key in this game.
Boss key is terminology that I understand, but big key is all the
Yeah.
same.
And coming up here, we don't activate the fan that would make these. We don't activate this fan here that would make all the there start spinning. So we have to do some interesting stuff to get past them. And claw shotting in specific ways, we can sort of get on top, and then we can do double LJ here to get past starting the fans and get through that room.
Honestly, all the LJAs are kind of scary to me.
So this room is actually pretty difficult to do well. The fans all move on a cycle, and so we have to be fast if we want to make it up to the top quickly. And there it seems like Jacquaid only had one teeny tiny little mess up towards the bottom, which is very, very nice. So now we will be entering the boss fight. So right here at the start, we can actually claw shot up to the top of those vines there pretty quickly, and just make it all the way to the top without having to climb up very much, which is good because climbing in this game is horrendously slow. So the first thing that we want to do is claw shot Arkrok's tail there. And then right after this, normally Arkrok would fly around again, and we'd have to wait a bit. But we actually claw shot onto the pillar very quickly after pulling him down there. It's possible to him not fly away and claw shot his tail again really quick. And coming up right here, there's a semi-long cutscene, so I'm going to take this opportunity to run to the bathroom real quick.
All right. I didn't want to really interrupt Brugels too much, but we do have a lot of stuff going on as far as ZSR events, so I want to plug that right now, so I'm not particularly interrupting him too much. So be on the lookout for ZSR, ZSR2 to have other races happening tonight and tomorrow. And then if you guys are not, make sure that you guys follow the fantastic runners that are putting on this race today. I will say it's been absolutely fantastic having Brugels on commentary because he knows a substantial lot about this game, and I don't want to interrupt him because he's talking so much and he knows everything.
Yeah.
It's like...
Also, I'm back. Hi.
Okay.
So, yeah. So the first thing that we do in this fight, in the second phase, you may have noticed Jacquaid just jumped into the void right at the start, and that's actually intentional. So it saves about 3 seconds to jump into the void at the start, because normally Arkrok would just fly around randomly, but by doing that, Arkrok spawns in the center. And unfortunately, Jacquaid messed up there. It is possible to, so normally you'd have to wait for Arkrok to just blow the flames, and you would go around back while you wait. But it is possible to skip Argrok blowing the flames. Unfortunately, Jacquaid was not able to get it, but hopefully he will get it. He has another chance to show it off. So right there, we just need to get around back and claw shot onto and deal some damage. So right there, you may notice that Jacquaid is sort of sinking down as Argrok is blowing the flames, and basically, if you sink down far enough before claw shotting to the next P-hat, then it'll sort of trick Argrok into thinking that you fell, and then Argrok will stop blowing the flames. And then right here for the third cycle, there's a but still one that speeds up the cycle quite a bit. The reason that we have to do a different strat is because for the third cycle, Rock try to you and switch sides. But right there, Jacquaid pulled it off very, very quickly. And that was a very good Argrok fight. So, with City being over, the next dungeon is going to be Palace of Twilight. And since we have the shard, the mirror shard, the only one we need is from City. So we can just go to Palace of Twilight now. And you saw right there that Jacquaid put on the iron boots before claw shotting into the cannon. And if you put on the iron boots and then mash B as you leave, it's possible to land on the bridge there instead of landing in the water, which allows us to warp away faster. Because you can't warp away when you're in the water. So now we're in Palace. Palace is semi-interesting. It's pretty vanilla. There aren't really any particular skips or tricks, but it's definitely still an interesting dungeon, just because of the little optimizations here. Yeah, Palace really freaked me out too when I was younger. Just like the hand chasing you and the music that it plays when it gets close is just so terrifying. The race is going pretty well.
It's definitely educational.
I'm glad I'm educating you. And right there, you may have seen Jacquaid did some side hops and a jump attack off of the chest, which is just a little bit faster. And claw shotting. So right here on the Phantom Zant fight, there's a pretty interesting strat that we do. So normally if you just do like a combo slash, Zant will start teleporting around very quickly and randomly, and it's very hard to catch up, and you just have to kind of hope and pray that you get good RNG. But the way that we do the fight there, with a stab, 2 quick spins, a stab, 2 quick spins, and then a stab and 3 quick spins, we can actually kill Phantom Zant very quickly and not have to worry about RNG. Because Zant won't start teleporting around randomly until he throws like one orb, I guess, or you do like a certain amount of damage. So if we just keep stopping him and doing a certain amount of damage, then we can finish the fight really quickly. Also, yes, Jacquaid is ahead. So right here, because we know where the stairs will come up here, we can sort of just throw the orb and then get into position. And that's quite a bit faster than, you know, just running up the stairs normally. And then here, what Jacquaid just did was slide. Where you hold a direction and then press L and you will start sliding. And you can do that while claw shotting something. And he does an L slide past a trigger that would drop a bunch of enemies on him and would be a little bit slower. So very nice that he was able to get that. So normally you would have to ride this platform all the way over, but instead Jacquaid is just going to do an LJ, which is much faster and saves a good bit of time. The platforms just move so slow. And in this room, you'll notice that Jacquaid is going to wait on the platform a bit, so that the cycle lines up with these platforms here. And unfortunately, he messed it up a little bit, but where the Zant head spawns there is RNG, and it's important to have the cycle line up with the platforms there, so you can get to the Zant head as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, Jacquaid got pretty bad RNG there, but he was able to make up for it a little bit. And right there, you'll notice he threw the boomerang into the fog, and that's because it sort of resets the shadow beasts there, because when they stop to attack you, they just stop for a while, but hitting them with the boomerang sort of like resets them, and by doing that, he can sort of get them all clumped together and kill them. And then right here we can do an LJA, because when the boomerang goes out of bounds there, we can jump attack towards it, and out of bounds counts as a void. Just saves a little bit of time over jumping down and claw shotting back up. And then once again here, we will have the second Phantom's Ant fight. Hopefully Jacquaid will do this one just as well. Oh, unfortunately, he missed the quick spin there. So he's going to have to do a slightly different strat. That's a little bit slower, but still pretty fast. And he will kill Phantom's Ant in 4 cycles instead of 3. Or in 4 teleports, I guess. Normally the fog there would transform you into wolf, but that fog there, the fog in the Phantom's Ant rooms is just weirdly broken around the sides, so you can just kind of roll through it. And once again, because we know where the staircases are going to rise up, we can just sort of throw the orb and then get in position. Very nice from Jacquaid there. Jumping across platforms, very nice. Those platforms can be kind of difficult just because the way they move, it can be a little tricky sometimes, but fortunately he was able to do that very nicely. And now we see Pheenoh here also, once again coming up on the Phantom's Ant fight, the second one. And unfortunately, Pheenoh messed up the fight just a little bit. And you can see here what I was talking about with Zant teleporting around randomly, which is why you want to be careful and do the strat. But now Jacquaid has the I guess, light-infused Master Sword. So now we can move on to the second part of the dungeon. I'm not sure, Islets, if he's on pace for sub 310. I would say yes for now, but I'm not totally sure. I could tell you once we get to the end of the dungeon. And right there, what Jacquaid did is he been attacked with the orbs for the platform there, and then immediately attacked. And that just makes the platform sort of stay there while not having to stand on it. It's just a little bit faster than spin attacking them when you come back after getting the key. And right there, Jacquaid did an LJ by making the brain go out. And that just saves like a second. I agree that it's a bad name, but when I originally made my splits, I called it Butter Sword, and now it looks weird if I change it. So I guess that's just on my splits now. So right now Jacquaid is going off to the side to kill that Zant head right there. You have to kill that. You have to kill all the Zant heads in this area, and that means that one off to the side. And before killing the other ones here, Jacquaid is going to be getting the boss key, actually. So the boss key is just right over here. At the top of this, and we just claw shot up to the top, just like that. And it is a little more difficult, but it is a little bit faster to get the boss key after going off to the side rather than before. But now we can just get this small key right here and move on to the next area. And right there, Jacquaid talked to Midna just for a second, and that actually is intentional and important. So at the top of this room here, there's a platform moving back and forth on a cycle. And if you talk to Midna, if you just talk to Midna right there, it actually stops the platform from moving at the top, but it doesn't stop the Shadow Beast timer, because you have to wait for the Shadow Beast to fall down there. So what we do is we stop the platform from moving while we have to wait anyways. And that makes it so that once we get up to the top here, the platform is in the perfect position for us to just drop down onto it, which saves a good bit of time, about 15 seconds. Oh, and that's very unfortunate that Jacquaid fell all the way down there. So I guess it doesn't matter too much that he missed the cycle at this point, but unfortunately, he's going to have to make his way back up to the top. And that'll give Pheenoh some time to catch up. But we'll have to wait and see if it's enough. Yeah, so that platform moving right there, that's the one that you have to get on a cycle. And it is quite unfortunate that he missed the cycle. And right here, just another LJ to save some time. Skip waiting for the platform. And then in this room here, we have to kill a bunch of shadow beasts that fall from the ceiling. And the shadow beasts always fall at the same time and in the same place. So we just kind of have to memorize where they we just have to memorize when and where they fall, and we can just time our spins. Also, no islets. Chaotic Pheenoh did a all dungeons run of Twilight Princess in 2014. So I mean, I don't know if maybe you were just thinking of the wrong year. And Chaotic Ace did a any percent run in 2017. But even before both of those, MoFat did a run in 2013. And now Jacquaid is entering the Zant fight. So Zant has 6 different phases. And one of those phases is actually the reason that we need to get a permanent bomb bag. And another of those phases is the reason that we need to get the ball and chain, but I'll explain those when we get there. Well, I guess I could talk about them now, because these first couple phases aren't really anything too special. So, Zant sort of takes you to all of the boss rooms, I guess. Also, Divine Godly. I believe Pheenoh did a TPHD run in 2016? I'm not sure about that, though. And right there, Jacquaid did a very interesting time save. Saves about 15 seconds. It is possible that the Goron Mines phase of Zant in one cycle, and Jacquaid pulled that off very nicely. It's a 2-frame trick, so 2017 was TPHD. What year was Ace's run? Was it 2018? I don't remember. But anyways, in this phase, Ace was 15? 2015? Huh. I don't know. But in this phase of the Zant fight, we have to use water bombs to refill our air, because once we get the Zora, so yeah, that's what Jacquaid is doing right now, refilling his air with the water bombs. That's why we need to get the permanent bag. So right here, coming up, the Blitzetta phase here. This is the only reason that we have to get the ball and chain. Just to defeat this one phase of Zant. Everything else could be replaced with other things. And it's just really unfortunate that we don't have a way to get around this, because it would just save so much time from not having to go to Snow Peak. And something interesting to note about Zant that will come into play in this next phase here, is that really the only hit that matters is the fourth hit of a combo slash. Right here, Jacquaid will be doing some peculiar movement to hit Zant with just the fourth hit of the combo slash, because that's the only one that we need to hit, and it'll do the most damage if we just do those slashes. So Jacquaid unfortunately messed up just a little bit, but pulled it back quite nicely. I'm not sure what Pheenoh's gonna do here. I think his run might be over, unfortunately. Because without water bombs, I don't think there's any way he can finish the run. Yeah, I think that's gonna be it, unfortunately, for Pheenoh. So I don't know if there'd be any way to switch to just Jacquaid's view. But yeah, that's really, really unfortunate. Yeah, GG,
I'm not
Pheenoh.
exactly sure, but I know that we can. I need to see if I can get. He just forfeited. Okay.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna stay for the rest. So Jacquaid is now going to warp away to Castletown, because the only thing left to do is go to Hyrule Castle.
I'm gonna work on setting this back up.
Thank you very much. And right there, Jacquaid did an LJ to get past the mailman trigger. There's one just right outside Castletown there. Yeah, no, Pheenoh, don't even worry about it. Honestly, it was really, really fun to watch. We're glad that you could demonstrate the gorge route for us, at least. And right now, on Jacquaid's screen is the Squidna cutscene. Very long cutscene. If you have to go to the bathroom, go now. This is one of the few bathroom breaks that we get. Yeah, just a long cutscene. Unfortunate that it's one of the few that we can't skip. Alright, I think everything's good now. Maybe. At least for me. Everything looks fine. Alright, with that cutscene out of the way, we can go through here, go through these doors, and go to Hyrule Castle. So the first thing that we need to do is get a small key, get into Hyrule Castle. So we're going to go off to the left here, and there's this strat that Jacquaid is going to do called Stand and Do Nothing, where you just pull out a bomb and then do nothing, and then all the Koblins just run forward and get blown up and die in one hit. It's great. Very easy and very fast. And right here, by skipping the cutscene there, it's actually possible to skip the barrier there, and you can just roll out of it. Yeah, barrier skip. Barrier skip in Twilight Princess. But yeah, it's possible to roll off to the side and just save some time. And then right here we have the final King Boblin fight. And once again, we can finish off King Boblin very quickly with just some quick spins. And coming up here, there's one frame that we can backflip out of a mid text trigger, and midair you can save warp. And unfortunately, Jacquaid missed it there. Only saves a couple seconds though, not really an important thing to get. And right there, we can just roll back through the barrier. And head into Hyrule Castle. And now, right here, there's another barrier skip that we can do. By going off to the side here and jump attacking, we can skip the cutscene there, and it'll actually leave us right on the edge. And we can just roll away. And even if you miss that, it is faster to save warp and try it again. Because doing the fight is just, it's super slow. There are just so many enemies. And then afterward, when, if all the lights turn on in that room, the GameCube can just cannot handle it. And so the game lags super hard. And then right here, there's a fast strat that Jacquaid can do with the ball and chain. Doesn't look like he did it there. It is possible to use the ball and chain on those guys and save a couple seconds, but it is a bit tricky. And then right there, Jacquaid just a boomerang to put out the lantern. And raise the platform. And then right here, we just have to light the torches in the correct order. And it's always the same, so we just have to memorize, and thankfully it's not a too difficult pattern. And then right here, Denalphos also die in one hit to... So, very set up. We can kill them very, very quickly by just throwing the bombs there. And then right here, we will fight an Aralthos. And we can kill them pretty quickly using the boom shield very quickly. And then it's possible to, unfortunately, Jacquaid sort of messed it up a little bit, but it's possible to use the ball and chain and kill them in just a couple hits very quickly. But since Jacquaid got some sword hits already, it's just faster to use the sword. And as we roll over here, in this cutscene trigger, a bunch of enemies start charging at Link, and then a bunch of people that we'd never met before are going to save us. So yeah, because of all the sequence breaks that we do, there's a bunch of people there that we've just never seen before. Yes, some very nice strangers. And as we go over here, we can pick up the big key for Hyrule Castle. Yes, the guy with the hawk is Russell. And I believe with like God RNG and a perfect ending, this can just be barely sub 310. So let's hope we see a strong finish for Jacquaid. So right there, those Lizalfos die with just 2 slashes and a quick spin. And same with these guys. They just die quickly with just a couple attacks. And right here for the final barrier skip coming up, we get just out of the range of this barrier spawning and claw shot the torch back there, and then skip the cutscene as we're going through. Very nice, saves a lot of time, especially because it gets really laggy here. So fighting not only is fighting the Dark Nut slow, but it's even slower because of the lag. So coming up here is the Zelda fight. Puppet Zelda has a ton of basically the entire thing is RNG. Best is 7 cycles. You need 3 orbs, and just the way it works out, the best that you can get is 7 cycles. But it's also random the amount of time between attacks. So we just have to hope that she gives us 7 cycles and really, really short amount of time in between attacks. And also the correct attack. So right there, she put like a Triforce on the floor. That's the slower one that you want. That's not the orb. She has 3 attacks. The orb, she can dash at you like this, and the Triforce on the floor. And I guess best case scenario would be orb, and then a dash, and then an orb, and then 3 dashes. and then another orb, and with short amount of time in between each one. I believe sub 310 is dead, unfortunately. And you'll notice right there, Jacquaid did a very specific set of attacks. He did a jump attack, then 4 individual slashes, then a combo. And the reason that we do that is because by damaging Beast Ganon just a very specific amount, we can do as much damage as possible, and we can do a very specific amount of damage. So normally, after you do these 2 cycles, he will start opening a bunch of portals, and he'll only come out of one of them, and you sort of have to wait for him to go through all of them. But by doing those specific sets of attacks, he'll actually only come out of he'll just make one portal and just come out of that, which is a lot faster. So now we have horseback Ganon. There are multiple different strats for this fight, but the idea is you just want Ganon to swing at you once and miss. That's what has to happen once, at least. It looks like Jacquaid pulled it off very nicely. Very, very nice. And you sort of have to aim Zelda yourself, because she is a terrible shot. And that was a very, very good horseback from Jacquaid. Very, very solid. So then coming up for the final fight of the game, a one-on-one sword duel with Ganondorf. And it's actually possible to finish the fight in about 12 seconds, 15 seconds. And it looks like this can be sub 310, just barely.
Oof.
So by doing these jump attacks and then quick spins, oh no, oh, that's so unfortunate. Oh, dang, that could have been just barely sub 310, but unfortunately, 310.03. But honestly, still, that was a very, very good run from Jacquaid. Very, very, very nice.
That was super close to 310. Woof.
Yes, but overall, that run was really, really awesome. Really great execution from Jacquaid overall. 310 is a very, very solid time. So, No, Jacquaid, it didn't suck. It did not suck. That was a great run. But yeah, I guess that's gonna be it.
I don't know.
I hope you all enjoyed my commentary. I hope it was educational.
I don't know if Jack's gonna come in and say anything. I offered him to come in and say something if he wanted to, but otherwise, I think that was a pretty good race. That was very nice to watch.
Oh, thanks, guys. But yeah, I guess that's gonna be it.